Hello and welcome everyone to today's session. So we have Akshat Srivastava here, who I am excited to introduce in just a moment. We are going over the interview your interviewer to pick the best SE job. My name is Alex Edwards. I'm the VP of Client Success here at Consensus, and I will be happy to moderate this session. Now, there's a few things that I want to cover before we dive into our session. First off, DemoFest is presented by Consensus. Consensus is intelligent demo automation software that helps scale pre-sales with interactive video demos. You can learn more at goconsensus.com or check out the link that we dropped in chat, the play.goconsensus link that will take you to a micro demo about Consensus. Now, Consensus is proud to provide this event for free to all attendees. However, we would like to invite each of you to donate to our company's humanitarian organizations if you would like to do so. You can learn more about this and donate via the link in the reception. You can visit our expo hall and check out our DemoFest Gives Back booth, or click the link that we've pinned in the chat box. We encourage you to participate in today's session. On the right-hand side of your console, you can see a few ways to engage with us throughout the session. The chat function will allow you to engage with us as well as other attendees. I have noticed in previous sessions, lots of questions come in the chat. So if I see those come in there, I may just copy it, paste it, and drop it into the QA. So just a heads up there. The other thing here that we have is our speaker is going to be taking questions throughout the session. So there will be a couple different spots where we'll stop and engage and cover any questions that might have come up, as well as have some time at the end of the session for QA. So please drop those questions in. If you've got a burning question, drop it in there. We'll make sure that we cover it throughout the session. Now, if anytime you have any technical difficulties, on the upper right-hand side, there's your profile. Go ahead and click on that. Click on Get Support. Someone will reach out to you and make sure that you can hear and see everything that you need to do. Now, I'd like to introduce our speaker. Akshat Srivastava is a solution architect leader at Amazon Web Services, leading the FinServe Enterprise SA team, and is based in New York City. In July 2018, Akshat realized the need for a dedicated community for pre-sales individuals and founded Sales Engineers of New York, or SENI, which has become the largest SE network in the East Coast today. We have dropped a link in the chat for that website for salesengineersny.com. So check that out. I know Akshat will give some additional insight there. So with that, I'd like to turn the rest of the time over to you. I'll stop my sharing and let you take over.
Thank you so much, Alex. Appreciate you and appreciate Consensus for giving me this opportunity. My name is Akshat, and as you said, I'm based in New York City. And today's session is a special session for me because I'm going to talk to you about something that I learned along the way as I moved from individual contributor to SE management, and that was how to pick the best SE job. Especially if you're at the top of your career, you have a lot of options, a lot of pick. And this session hopefully helps people out there who are in similar situation, looking to pick the best out of the things they have in hand. So a quick agenda, I'll talk about my background, why you should really listen to me, what are my credentials really. And I will go about talking about, how do you research for the right SE job? How do you check your interviewer's profile, your future boss, right? What do you need from your employer to be successful? And how do you, go about asking the right questions? What is the interview process like? How can you understand that? And what are the different people who usually interview you when you are interviewing for pre-sales? I will actually give you exact questions that you can take away with you after today's session. But not just the questions to ask, but what should be the right answer or a good answer that you should look for when actually deciding whether you should join this company. And this kind of especially holds true for startups or mid to small size companies where the brand name has not been really established. How do you make the decision? And I'll end with kind of negotiating best practices. And I did put questions as the last bullet point. However, I want this to be interactive session. So Alex, I think you'll be moderating the chat. So I will pause in the middle whenever I have a good stopping point, and I will take any questions from anyone who wants to ask me. With that, let's get started. So currently, I'm a SA leader, solutions architecture leader, working for the enterprise vertical, specialized in financial services and insurance. So I work with hedge funds, private equity companies, capital markets, insurance companies here, and these are larger enterprises. And I manage a team of about nine to 10 people. And while part of this role, I'm also kind of involved in our larger recruiting effort within the Northeast. So with another peer of mine, we are responsible for streamlining recruiting and kind of understanding what are the best practices and so forth. I've conducted over 50 interviews at Amazon, and I also had one of the highest accuracy percentage. So what that means is the number of people who I kind of inclined, which is the word in Amazon they use for people who pass an interview, whether it's a phone screen or whether it's final round, went on to actually get an offer. That's the accuracy percentage. While I was an individual contributor, so a bit about my career, I've been in pre-sales about 7-8 years. App Dynamics was my first pre-sales job. I was a sales engineer. I've worked in companies. So App Dynamics was acquired by Cisco. So I was a SE at Cisco as well. I've been at mParticle and Turbonomic. Those are two startups, different industries. One is infrastructure. The other one is CDP, marketing tech. So I've had a different bunch of variety of software to sell while I was an individual contributor. And since I left App Dynamics, I had secured about 7+ offers. When I had AWS, I had 3 offers to pick from besides AWS. So I actually got in a habit of asking questions, documenting what I'm asking to actually make decisions. And I wrote a blog about it on SENY. And I'll tell you what SENY is. And so this presentation is kind of a compilation of what I myself used in order to secure those offers. And as Alex was pointing out, SENY was started in July 2018 with my co-founders Owen McLeod. He's based in New York as well. Eric Glick. Eric is currently at a company called Coda. He lives in Connecticut, but based in, works out of New York as well. And Sam Pena, he's a VP pre-sales at Pluralsight. He actually moved out to Seattle, but all 4 of us were responsible for founding this community where we basically hold events for free, and it exists as a meetup. So you can go on salesengineersny.com. You go click on sign up, join our Slack, follow us on LinkedIn, join our meetup. And we one promise that I made when I started this community with my co-founders was we're never going to make money out of this. This is going to be completely free for every member always. And the reason is when we think of community, I always think about giving back. And as pre-sales, right? I mean, I'm not a doctor or a lawyer. I can't really help the community in that sense. And this is what I love, and this is what I do. So it's our way. Us founders and the whole community. There's a lot of other people working with us. So this is our way to give back to the community. And we have mentors channel in our Slack where you can come ask for free mentorship. There's a jobs channel. Jobs are being posted. So it's really an opportunity to meet people in person and so forth. So check us out. Join us. With that, let's get started. So the first thing that I look for, right, when I'm researching for a new job, right, is I need to understand the product inside out completely. And the first thing I look for is I go to LinkedIn and I search for anyone within my first connection or second connection or third connection who has either worked at this company I'm looking at previously or they work there currently. If I do not have any person in my network, I look for people I can just cold message. I actually recommend buying the basic premium tier for LinkedIn, so it allows you to send in emails and messages. Really helpful, and you'd be surprised how many people actually reply back and respond, and they would totally be down to either meet you for coffee. This was pre-COVID, or just get on a call with you. So don't hesitate to ask, and when you're on the call with someone, research that person and ask them the questions you want to ask them about the company that you're looking for. So definitely leverage your network. There's other resources. Blind is an app where you can kind of anonymously comment about the company that you're working at, right? So there's a lot of good information at Blind you can find. Glassdoor, of course, has a bunch of reviews. Everyone knows about that. Um, Obviously, if you're part of any community like Seni, you can message people within that community. And pre-sales is kind of still a small world. So chances are you will find someone who either knows the company you're looking to work for, or has friends there. So absolutely do your research, ask the right questions. Those are some resources that I use. Now, the way I got a job at AppDynamics, I actually was looking at TechCrunch, and there was this article in 2014 about top 8 companies, unicorns. So in 2014, not every company was a unicorn. It was a big deal to be a tech unicorn. And I saw this article, about how AppDynamics saved Game of Thrones or something like that. How code from this engineer helped save Game of Thrones on HBO Go from not going down. So I really loved that story. And then there's another article on TechCrunch about the top paying startups in Silicon Valley, and that's when I started looking into this company, and I applied on LinkedIn and met some people online, asked them about the culture, and I got the job. So don't be shy to just Google the company and literally scan through all the articles you find. Really, you never know what you're going to come across. So when I look at, right, once you have researched your company, right, you obviously, let's say you're in, you applied and you're in now. You have multiple interviews lined up. So you obviously know who the hiring manager is. I would say that it's really important to find a personal connection to that hiring manager. It really helps you out. If you don't have a personal connection, it's okay, but chances are try to research the person who's going to interview you, right? Ask people in common, in connection, or look at the things that they spoke about. Maybe there's a presentation that they did at a tech conference that's online. Maybe you find something. So research your future boss and research your interviewer. It's really important. And you can always ask them this question. I always do this. Why did you take this job? So sometimes, it really it really puts your interviewer in a hard spot. It's like, hey, how's this a person asking me a question back like I'm supposed to ask this person? It's actually not the case. If a candidate asks me why I took this job, I would actually put that candidate already as a different pile, in a higher category as others, because this person is personally interested in my journey and is not afraid to ask questions as to why I did something. So that's something that I have done in the past and helped me connect with the person who's interviewing me. So when you have multiple jobs to pick from, you have a lot of different employers, future employers. What are you actually looking for from your future employer to be successful, right? I always ask these 3 questions to myself, and I always make sure that I get good answers for these. So 1, what is the sales process at this company that I'll be working at? And is the product successful at selling itself? It's really important for me to understand whether the sales process is working or not, whether it's actually, whether there is a sales process or not. Are people buying this? What problem does this product solve? I've had calls with companies. There was this crypto company one time, I remember, this is 2019. And I asked them a question like, hey, what is the problem you're trying to solve with this product? And they gave me an answer that was about 10 minutes long. And I was confused. And I actually said that, I'm sorry, I'm kind of confused. What are you trying to solve? And the person was so embarrassed, and they said, it's actually our fault. We were not able to explain to you in lesser time. And if they're not gonna, if a person who's already working there, if they can't explain to you something in a minute or less, 30 seconds is optimal. it's going to be a hard time for you as an SE to go and learn this product and then do that job. So that's really important for me to understand what is the problem this product is solving. Finally, as an individual contributor, I really need to understand how will I be measured. It's really important for me to have my manager know what's he looking for. And if they cannot communicate that, that is a red flag. So these three questions are kind of the basis for me to make my decision, if I may. And I would dig deeper into more questions as we proceed. Alex, do we have any questions so far?
No questions just yet. So you're all good there.
Perfect. So let's say you applied, you know who's going to interview you, you did that person's research, you have your questions ready. You also need to understand your interview process, right? Who all are going to interview you, and what's their role? Is there a demo involved, right? What's the timeline for the whole process? The reason this is important is because when you're a top SE and you're kind of working at multiple interviews and you're also you're probably doing a job full time, it's really important for you to put your time and energy at the company that is your dream company, and most of your energy should go there. So the question about is a demo really going to be required? My guess is mostly yes. If that's the case, the company that's at the top of your priority, that demo should come in first because you have your most energy. And following that, you should kind of pick the other demos, for instance. Obviously, you need to understand who will be interviewing you so that you can do that research that I talked about earlier. And you need to understand what their role is. You need to have your questions ready for every person that interviews you. So you need to understand that. And you need to understand the timeline for the process, because that's a fair ask. If you are working with multiple companies and trying to make the best decision as quickly as possible, the least a company can do is at least be transparent about what's their decision process and how much time it takes for them to get back to you. So let's talk about what are the different roles. So you already know at the point before this that you have an interview process. You will know the people who will interview you. So usually for a pre-sales role, right, you will be interviewed by the sales team. So that can be an account manager or your manager's counterpart. So like a DM, district manager. It can also be product. In a startup, it can be somebody from engineering, depending on how big their product and engineering teams are. And this person might be responsible to assess your technical acumen. The salespeople will assess you on your sales acumen, obviously. And then, of course, the pre-sales engineering manager, right? They are going to assess, they're going to, of course, get the technical fit and the sales fit responses from the other two teams. So they will kind of hit on those two topics, but mostly they will hit on whether this person is coachable. Are they owners? Do they take ownership? And are they going to be, a culture fit for my team, for my company, for my organization? So those are some roles that you should expect and what they will look for in an interview process. So with that being said, right, these are a lot of questions to ask sales. So think about when you are in front of account managers, right? When you're in front of account managers, they are trying to understand whether you can come in and be trustworthy in front of a customer. Can they take you and rely on you with their commission checks? Because you will be responsible for closing deals, helping them out. So they need to rely on you. And a big part of that is, them trusting you, the communication skills, and whether you get along or not. They will actually, assess that as well. So the colored questions are some of the questions I think they are really important for me, but every question here is really important. So how do you measure ROI today? Can you explain your current deal cycle and sales process? What answers you're looking for in there are, an account manager, if they are hesitant, if they don't know their deal cycle, they will give you all sorts of answers like, yeah, it's haphazard, or we actually don't have a process, or yeah, we kind of do a demo and we kind of bring people. Anyone saying kind of and filler words and kind of hesitant, red flag. A good salesperson, a good and a company that has a decent sales process will tell you exactly what the sales process is, right? How are accounts broken down? What is their attainment in prior years? A good salesperson will also tell you if they did not attain 100% quota. So the red flag here would be if you do not get an answer there. If you get an answer such as 80%, 90%, 100%, 120, those are all good. If you get below 100%, you can ask them, hey, why didn't you have 100% quota? What stopped you? So it kind of gives them additional time to respond. Um, Now, some people might be thinking here that why would they entertain all these questions? Who I'm just a person interviewing. Well, these questions are to be asked once you have established that you are the right fit for the role. So this is of course asked once you're done with the interview at the last 10 to 15 minutes, right? You're not asking this right up front. And once you know that you have done well in the interview, you ask these questions. And you should take notes. You should take mental notes. So the question on, for example, what are your expectations from your SE? You know, a good answer there would be, I expect my SE to be a partner. Any AE who respects the hustle and wants to trust you will use the term partner. So look for that in a response. Do you need help with product enablement from your SE, right? In terms of this question, this is a maybe you need it or not. No right or wrong answer, just kind of a filler question. You also need to understand, okay, what does it look in their eyes for you to make it? So how can an SE make at this company in, let's say, at App Dynamics in New York or in East Coast? Usually AEs will tell you, or even their manager will tell you, hey, look, you come in, you help us out within the first 3 to 6 months with a few deals, and we're looking for someone who can own the process, who can coach us, who can teach us whatnot. Right? If you're kind of getting those kind of responses, all good. And finally, PGing stands for pipeline generation. So you can always ask this to a startup how are you PGing into your accounts, and how far are you from your goal versus your achieved quota? This question usually gets them to respect you more, because you're going to come across as a veteran. They're going to know that this person has done this before. They have worked with AEs before. So this question really establishes a lot of respect in my experience in front of your AEs. I want to ask the audience here if they want to add anything or any questions that they have asked. Alex, let me know if you see the chat.
Let's see. We'll open it up for the chat here. Any questions that you have asked?
Anyone wants to come on video? Let's see.
Oh yeah, we can allow that too. If you want to share your video, toggle it and we'll accept you in.
Brian Fisher, thank you for joining. I'm looking at the comments now. Awesome. So Ammon, what question were you talking about? Morgan, thanks for your comment. Yeah, this is great. And researching, yep, Daniel, agree with that too.
Oh, here's a question from Matt. Yes. Okay, what are the top 3 things that AEs mistakenly expect SEs or from SEs and SEs?
Yes, yeah. So that kind of falls in the category of, how can an SE make it in your company, right? And how do you recommend an SE make their biggest impact in the first 90 days? Yeah. Yes. Oh yeah, Ammon, thank you. Yeah. That question has generated a huge conversation every time I've asked that to a person. Like, I've asked that to a future boss, and they told me their story, and we connected. We found some common connections.
Hey, Akshay, I've noticed, and maybe this is just one of the questions that I've had thinking about this. Obviously, with millennials and Gen Z, I feel like they have to have and I say they, like I'm a millennial, I'm in that group, but
Yeah,
there has to be a bigger why to what they're doing. Like the why needs to be, it needs to resonate more than this is just my job. This is just what I clock in at 8 and I clock out at 5 or whatever. And so I feel like that question, like, why did you take this job? Anytime I've been asked that question in the interview process, it helps me not only sell the vision of what we're trying to do here, but it shows the passion of
hmm,
those who are actually involved in that company. And I think that's what this next generation is looking for, right? They're not looking to just
absolutely.
phone in something. So I think that one is a really, really powerful question to put in your quiver there. All right, one from
Right.
Dar here. What do you think the team is missing that the new person could augment?
That's a good one. Yes. So, Dar, that question, right? If you get hesitation answer, in receiving an answer, you know that the AE is not happy with the current SEs, and you
Yeah,
can maybe come in and make an impact. So that's a very good question to kind of look at the relationship that's going on as well. Good
love
question.
that. And then this one from Hadi here said, to sales or for sales, what sets apart your favorite SE to partner with as opposed to all the other SEs at
Mhm.
your org? Will you give insight into what the AEs actually, or will give you insight into what the AEs actually want out of an SE? Couldn't agree more on that one.
Very good, very good. Thank you for that. All right, can you all see my screen again,
Yep,
Alex? Awesome. So
you're
let's
good.
let's continue. Let's continue. So all of us will have to go through a process where we are being assessed for our technical skills, because obviously this is a sales engineering job, so the engineering has to be solid. um, the smaller the company, the less bandwidth they have to bring someone on, with lesser tech skills, um, because they don't have the right documentation, right? They don't have training yet developed. So they're looking for someone who can come in and perhaps even contribute to enablement. So, so you will definitely be, be in the situation where you're either being judged by engineering or by product. And, once you have proven that you ace that interview, it's time for you to take the seat and kind of ask them the questions. The top three questions that I always look at is, so what is the onboarding and training process? How are you going to teach me how to sell this? A good answer there is they actually know it right off the top of their head, and they give you very precise answers saying, hey, we have an SE enablement plan, which is 2 weeks or 30 days, and you come in and we have something for you. That's a great answer. A bad answer there would be, yeah, we don't really have a current training process. We're probably, we have a lot of documentation. You can talk to people. Well, yeah, but what am I going to talk about? so, I'm really speaking from experience, and this is something that you also ask people who have worked in that company in the past. How did you train? How did you onboard? Now, I'm not saying if you get that answer, don't accept the job. Just know like what you're dealing with, what you'll have to do when you join this company, right? You'll have to perhaps build the training content if you receive those kind of answers. How satisfied are you with product documentation? Now, why is this important? Why is this question important for me? Well, if you are an SE and an individual contributor and you're working with customers, you rely on documentation heavily. Let's say you're in a POC, and you have to like install, get the product up and running, and you don't have good documentation. Guess who's going to be on the call doing the work? You. um, and if you don't have the documentation, you better like create something from scratch and have it ready for when you get on a call with a customer. You know what to do. So for me, if the documentation is not solid, my job is going to be harder. So if I have two companies to choose from, one, good documentation, good training; the other one, not so good documentation but training is there, I would pick the first one. What is the most challenging technical hurdle you foresee in selling this product today? A good answer there is an answer along the lines of our biggest challenge has been getting deep into the account. Um, that's a good answer because they're saying that technically, once they're in the account, they don't have a problem with the product itself. A bad answer there is, yeah, we have a lot of feature requests, or we have had a hard time demoing this. We don't have a demo story. If you're joining a company with no demo story and the product is hard to demo, I actually interviewed at one company, and I requested for them to show me the product, and they said, "Well, you just have to come in and kind of see it. The product doesn't demo great, but you can use it." And I'm like, "It doesn't demo well. What am I gonna sell?" So those are some bad answers when you're asking this question. But this question has kind of helped me make my decision. Um, and who delivers the final POC presentation, right? The reason I asked this question is because I'm trying to understand how many times product and engineering are involved versus the SEs. Because if for POC and presentations there's product and engineering involved, what that shows me is a product is not really market ready for to be presented by just the account team, right? Finally, I also asked, what would your advice be to me to best, get on board with the product? And for this question, a good response is when the product or engineering person like actually shows me something on their laptop, or because people get excited if you ask the question like, "Hey, listen, the product is super easy. You can go download it from our website. I'll send you some stuff. Happy to show you as well." Those are good responses. Okay. Alex, do we have any questions for this section?
We have a flurry of questions that have come in. Some may have been from our earlier piece, so I'm just going to go from the first
Yeah,
one that we have here. And this may be a little bit different, but it's, what's the most important trait to have as an SE, and how do you convey that during the interview process?
that's a good question. I think the most important trait will depend on the hiring manager, what they're looking for. I can tell you, for me, coachability and ownership are top two. Are you coachable? And do you come across as someone who won't require to be micromanaged? Are you an owner? Will you be able to demonstrate that? So the question is, how do you demonstrate ownership? Well, I'll tell you from Amazon perspective, right? We believe in something called scenario-based questions for the final round. So you need to, I would ask question like, tell me about a time when you went above and beyond your call of duty to do something for your customer. And if I'm not getting the right response from you, if you have done something that you completely owned and you were not a paper pusher, that is going to come across in your interview. And that's how you establish trust and ownership. In terms of technical acumen, if you're doing a demo and you know your demo inside out, your presentation inside out, you're able to handle the questions technically, you have established trust with me at least. The good part about being an SE is our code is not in production, right? How can someone tell that you are trustworthy? You better come across as trustworthy by the way you communicate and by the
Right.
way you sound convincing. And you do that by being assertive, by being confident. And you gain confidence by just knowing the matter and doing it over and over again. So your experience, your work ethic, your hard work, all of that shows.
Love that. Another one here, and this was, I think, from the last section here, but I think it's still applicable. It says, what are the biggest company red flags that SE should look for during the interview process?
One of the biggest red flag during the interview process for me has been no coordination of even hiring. I receive an email from the recruiter, and then I'm waiting a week or two for the next email. There is no professionalism in getting back to me. Huge red flag. I don't want to work for a company like that.
Yeah.
Besides that, during the interview, as I said during my questions as I'm asking you questions and I'm not getting those responses, whether it's from sales, sales not trusting SEs, your product and engineering not trusting your SEs, and not having good documentation, not having training, product doesn't demo well, those kind of responses. Yeah,
Love it.
red flags.
Okay. Here's a tougher one from Daniel. It says, how should you respond to the question, how much do you make?
You should respond by the number that you want to make minus 20. If I want to make
Yep.
200,000, I will say, yeah, I make around 180 right now. There is no legal way for them to go check it. In fact, it's illegal in most states for them to even ask. So
Okay.
have that
That's a
rule
good to
always.
know. Yeah. Okay, couple others here. One from Eric. He said, what is one thing a candidate did during the interview process that was a red flag and caused you to pass on them?
Oh boy. Um, there's many cases, and I mean, I think someone who is dishonest is my number one red flag.
Yeah.
This person is written on their resume like they worked on a whole implementation of migration from like on premise to Azure, and then when I asked a question, hey, what did you actually do? Absolutely, within 30 seconds, I knew this person did not do that.
Yeah.
Do not lie on your resumes, please, or in interviews. It's absolutely turns off everyone. I'm okay if you didn't do it, but do not lie, please.
Yeah. Okay, one other one. And this is again putting you in the interviewer spot. Have you ever had an experience where you put aside lack of experience, I'm assuming on the candidate, and went with your gut instinct?
We're all taught to not have any bias, even unconscious bias, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna say that I try to rely mostly on the data I have. One thing I do is if I'm feeling very strongly in one direction or the other, I take a lot of notes, and I save those notes and I shut down. I go for a walk, do my job. After 5 6 hours, I come back and look at my notes and try to not have any judgment. Um, so um, usually your gut's right about like the answers you receive, right? Um, but sometimes you do have to trust people. So it's a very hard question. It's case by case basis. If the person has shown you enough, data, they've given you enough data that they're coachable and they can come in and really move the needle, then by all means go fight for them.
Awesome. Well, looks like in chat we actually got another question if you want to take one more.
All right.
And
Yeah.
this is about asking questions to the company. So this is from Lindsay. She asked, any specific questions you think you should ask when talking to smaller companies? I feel like the environment is different and the questions to ask may be different.
Lindsay, those these questions I asked for companies that were 100 person or 120-person companies as well. So there is no. I mean, Lindsay, can you clarify what's the number of employees at the company you're talking about? What's the definition of a small company? While she answers, um, I would say that the questions around sales, right? Have you met your quota or not? That's still valid for any size. That's their job. Have you met your quota this year or not? What's the relationship with your SE like? What is the hard part of the product to sell? For product engineering, do you have any documentation? If not, like how do you go and debug these things? How do you install the product? Those are regardless of the company size. Those questions still valid.
Cool.
Okay.
I don't see. Oh, okay. So Lindsay said, I suppose I mean that questions should you ask if you will be on a small team? Like, isn't going to be you and a handful of other SEs? So maybe team size, and if that changes,
I see. I see.
responses to look for or questions to ask.
Yeah. So you can still ask these questions and be like, Yeah, Lindsay, I'm happy to kind of get back to you if you message me separately. I have some ideas on like the team size, but just to let you know that some of the questions here were asked to a team size of 4 SEs, 5 SEs global. So
And that was what Daniel just put in there. Some smaller companies also expect wider SE role, so you're going to be influencing way more of the sales cycle, even post
Mhm.
sale,
Yes,
marketing and events, as Daniel mentioned. So cool, love that.
exactly, exactly. All right. So the final, set of questions are the questions you would ask your hiring manager or people who, or your hiring manager's boss. The most important question I ask, obviously the top two, what does my first 30, 60, 90 days look like? Now, if I'm a hiring manager of a small company with 2 SEs or a big company with 200 SEs, I better have an answer to what do I need to do with this new hire for the first month, 2 months, and 3 months. It doesn't matter what size company you are, you better have an answer ready for that. Comp plan is really important, right? Second question. So again, you need to understand what is your why. Why are you in pre-sales? If money is a big factor, then you need to understand what is your bandwidth to taking higher risk or having more stability. If you kind of look for more stability, I would say the comp plan should err towards 70-30 split between 70% base, maybe 80% base. Also, a lot of startups would give you 70-30 split because they don't really make their numbers anyway. So you're not gonna ever make the OTE. So at least you're paid the 70% base there. But remember that. And for those who don't understand the split, usually what happens is, let's say that you or your team. So you need to understand what does a comp plan look like is a huge question. It hits on things around, what is the quota that I'll be responsible for? And do you have an individual quota, or is it more like your region's quota, your team's quota? And on that quota, let's say your quota is $1 million. If you make $800,000, in terms of if you make 80% of your quota, you get what 70-30 split means is, let's say your salary is 100,000 OTE, on target earning. So what that means is, if you make 80% of your $1 million quota, you're guaranteed 80% of of the 30% would be the variable. So 30,000. So you have $70,000 your base salary. So you get the 70,000 plus you get 80% of the remaining $30,000. That is what comp plan is. So you really need to understand how you will get paid. And of course, besides all of that, if it's a startup, look at the options and outstanding shares and all of that. You really need to understand your comp plan, and this is something your hiring manager should explain to you. The other question is, of course, how is an SE measured? What are the key performance indicators you're tracking today? Now, like a red flag would be if this hiring manager, has no idea. Usually, a good answer is, well, we track by the deal size, of course, and also we're looking at like scaling activities. What are you doing for the organization, and how are you helping the larger company or the larger team? We're also looking for your help with building training or enablement content or demos, whatever it is. Those are good answers. A bad answer would be, hey, we're just looking at the biggest deal. That's what we measure. Or, oh, we don't know right now. We'll figure it out as we get along. If they're gonna figure it out after you join, that leaves like a door open for you to not know how you're performing, and it's on the whim of the hiring manager. So you really need to understand how you will be measured. You really need to understand how is a conflict between an AE and an SE resolved, right? Because a lot of times your AE will come to an AE is account executive will come to your manager and be like, hey, I'm having trouble with this person and whatever it is. And you need to understand whether your hiring manager has your back or not. And how have they resolved the problem? And this is a controversial question, but I have asked it, and I have gotten a response usually. What was the reason behind last resignation on your team? So I asked this question to put them on a back foot because 9 out of 10 times, no one has asked this question. So they will remember you for, if not for anything, they'll remember you that, wow, this person asked me a question on my last resignation. No one else has done that. So you already stand out. But the other thing is that you're also understanding whether your hiring manager is real or not. Are they open with you or not? Like, if somebody asks me that, I'll be like, yeah, my last person resigned because they got a better offer at a different team, and that was the best decision for them. I would just straight up say that. But if you're not getting a straight answer, rest assured this hiring manager is not going to be straight with you when you work for them. So this question has helped me personally a lot. Another thing, obviously, what's not working today? What's the biggest risk to the business? Those are some questions um, that always help. So chances are, this is kind of the last round of questions here I have. So chances are that if you are interviewing for a startup, pre-IPO, you are very likely to also, as your final round, interview with the CEO or founder, and they are only going to basically look at the culture fit, because by the time you talk to them, you are already vetted. Everyone is behind you. You are in green, but this person has the authority to move you from green to red. So you better bring your A game, and you need to research this person in and out, appear confident. So I have spoken to two CEOs and founders in my interview process, and I got an offer both times. And I asked them these three questions, like, what do you see as the biggest risk to success and your business? You need to understand, like, from a CEO and founder's perspective, like, what is important to them. If you're a founder and CEO of a startup, you have these board meetings every week, and you need to really show growth. You need to show increase in ARR, annual revenue, subscription, whatever it is. Um, and you're constantly understanding risk, market fit, all of that. And then you need to ask the CEO, like, what's their opinion of the SE org. And in both the cases that I interviewed with them, I got good responses in the sense they said that they saw like pre-sales as a partner to sales and really critical in closing business. And I thought that was really good responses. And then finally, the last question really gets them as well. What do you think might be the biggest obstacle to a path to an IPO? So this is a very open-ended question that if that shows you their passion for the company and the product. If they're really passionate, they will tell you, what's going on, and where do they see the company in a few years. And they actually really like this question. Both the times I asked, I received about like a 10-minute response, and we also talked about other things beyond that. So I just wanted to leave with that. Um, Try to be respectful of time. We got a couple minutes here. Negotiating and picking the best fit. Obviously, you have the questions. You should have the answers attached based on this session, right? You know what to expect. Um, you have the power of negotiating when you will have more than one offer in your hand. You have the power always, but you'll be more confident if you have more than one offer. So try to get more than one offers, right? But regardless, you will not get a higher package or salary if you don't ask. Worst case, they're gonna be like, sorry, which is fine. You're already got the offer. So please ask for what you deserve. And with that, I would say good luck. Pick the best fit on the answers you have, and you can always reach out to me. Hit me up on LinkedIn, or if you join Seni's Slack, I'm always available to chat with you one on one. So happy to do that.
Great.
Alex.
Well, Akshat, I really appreciate it. We have some feedback just to call out here in the chat. I thought was really during the compensation, Morgan had mentioned making sure that they know the ramp period. Like, if there's a ramp period for you, your compensation should reflect that, right? So investigate that, make sure they have it ironed out, so that you don't have get into it and realize that the comp plan isn't what you're expecting until 6 months down the road. Another one here that Morgan had mentioned this is you're talking about the last, uh, layoff or whatever, the resignation. That's what I'm trying to say. And it says, was the last opening due to a promotion for growth, or someone leaving the company? So finding out a little bit more about why that is. So love that. And then there is a couple questions in here. Oh, we have one new one. No, a couple ones. Okay. Um, are there, and maybe this is more about just the whole picture here. But are there roles outside of pre-sales, so let's sales, CS, product, or even non-tech roles like teachers, who you think can make a change in career to pre-sales?
Can you repeat the question?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So the question is, are there roles outside of pre-sales, but someone's wanting to come into pre-sales? So it's if they're coming from sales or CS or product, but then they even mention non-tech roles. So like
Mhm.
teachers or something that are getting out of that field and want to get into tech, and specifically on the SE side. Are there any that you've had experience with in the past, or any that you think can make that change in career to pre-sales?
You can come into pre-sales from any field as long as you demonstrate your sales acumen, your technical fit. You're in my eyes. So um, for for example, for AWS, right, you can get certifications and be certified and kind of learn the tech skills, and you can kind of learn the sales skills as well on the job. And if it's a company which is selling a product that's not very technical, like I'm not going to name non-technical products, but that are like AWS is very highly technical, right? You're gonna need to know a lot of stuff. But for example, like Salesforce, if you know APIs, you know basic scripting, and you know how to demo, you're gonna do a great job. And plus, it's a big company and they have good onboarding. So understand your technical strength. What do you like to do? If you love building mobile apps, try to join like the mobile app kind of product companies. Apps Flyer is one of them, for instance. So find your technical strength and where your passion is, and it's going to be easier for you to join that.
Awesome. Okay, well, that is the final question on here. Well, perfect timing with where we are. So I'll go ahead and share
Okay.
my screen as we wrap up here. But really appreciate your feedback and insight. I think the big takeaway here is really just not to be afraid to ask questions. Right, you're in this just as much as the interviewer, and if you ask the right questions, you'll know if it's a good fit. So really awesome session, Akshat.
Thank you so much
Okay,
for
couple
that.
of things just to wrap up here. So we want to remind everyone that the last session, we will have raffle and prizes. So every session that you attend will get you an entry into that raffle. So be sure to attend as many of these awesome sessions as you can. Our final session's on May 19th at 2 p.m. Mountain Time. And that's where we're going to be raffling off all the prizes. So definitely check in on that day and time. And then we're also excited to announce that we are going to take DemoFest on the road. So we're calling this DemoFest X. Be sure to attend our last session so you understand what are the cities that we're going to be going to. And then we also encourage you to stop by our expo hall. So visit our premier partners of DemoFest. Just a reminder that none of these partners have offered any money or sponsored in any way financially. So all of our partners have gone above and beyond to contribute to making this event a success for all of us. And with that, I'd just like to thank Akshat again for an awesome session. And up next, we have these sessions here. So we'd love to see you there. And everyone have a great rest of your day. Thanks all.